Hello everyone. In this video I wanted to talk about forward dogs and flighty dogs. So over the years we've had the pleasure of working with a multitude of different dogs that had either of those traits and those behaviors, whether it was kind of an extreme aggressive case or an extreme feral case or a case where the dog is very fearful of everything, or a case where the dog is very forward in their overexcitement in life. And one way that we like to look at these different behaviors is to kind of put them on a pendulum. And we'll start with the forward dogs. So the majority of them, in some cases, they do have some yield in them, meaning the pendulum doesn't swing in a forward motion, but rather in more of a yielding kind of motion or direction. And with these particular dogs, because those moments where their fear kind of takes them into more of a yielding space are so infrequent, they have more of a propensity to shy away from that kind of yielding mindset or yielding behavior and push everything around. They may push everything around in an aggressive way, or in an overly confident way, or in an overly excited kind of way. So, to give you an example, when we observe dogs playing, what we like to look for is a balance in those two dogs playing. So meaning one dog is pushing the other dog around, and then the other dog pushes the other dog around, and you can kind of see a very clear balance in that play. Now, with dogs that are very forward, whether that's in excitement or more of an aggressive kind of stance, they don't have the skill set, whether it's because in their development they only played with dogs that they pushed around, or it's a situation where all the humans kind of stepped out of their way when they moved through life. And so they didn't build in this ability to respect other beings' space or other things' space. And so with enough practice, what you get is, again, that forward dog. And it could be a forward dog with overexcitement, or again, with that kind of more aggressive forward behavior. So in this particular situation, what we've seen is that when we put that dog, a particular dog, on a slip lead, and if we can get the noseband on, or when we get the noseband on, we take them through steps 1 through 3, and it kind of, we're able to help the dog kind of detox through their propensity of just being forward in life. Because when you have that dog, they're usually pretty chaotic when they do choose to move through life, whether they're used to being able to smell something or look at something or react to something. So as you practice, you kind of help them detox, you help them kind of quiet their mind down a bit. And then when you get into steps 4 and above, that's when you really are able to teach them what yielding is. And you get into a little bit of that with step 2 and 3, it's kind of the segue to the later steps and exercises. But what makes it so profound is that you begin to culture in that dog some trust and understanding in being pushed around and in yielding. Now, before you get that, what is going on in that particular dog is, again, let's just take, for example, you have a very forward dog, whether they're forward in excitement or forward with kind of reactivity. Is that when you have that particular dog and all they do is just move through life and push everything around. When it comes time, when they interact with a being, whether that's a dog or a human, that they cannot push around, that's when you can get some fireworks. And that's when a lot of people run into a lot of barriers in regards to how to help their dog overcome that overexcitement or that reactivity or that forward kind of aggressive movement. So again, coming back to the pendulum, when we work with dogs, we try to help them get to a place to where that pendulum swings into more of a yielding state of mind and state of awareness and state of physiological functioning, and to find some comfort and trust and peace in that. And so through steps 2 and 3, we kind of touch on that a little bit, entering their space. And then when you get into 5 and above, that's really when you begin to help them bend, and you spend more time driving the dog. And the more time you spend driving the dog and having them yield and stay in that kind of yielding kind of mindset, again, the more trust and peace that comes with that. And so when you have that forward dog that begins to get more trust and collectedness and peace in that yielding state of mind, then when you enter them into a situation where there's a human coming at them or a dog coming at them, they don't freeze and just go to fight or overexcitement. They actually know how to move out of that being space, and so there's less fireworks. So it's really a matter of prepping them and teaching them what that yielding is before you let them off leash. And that's the sequence of events that we do teach dogs, whether they come into our space and into the pack or into a workshop. We help them gain more trust and peace in that bending and in that being driven around by another being. And that's, it's something that we've seen such an immense amount of success with. And what so many dogs in that situation, they just have a severe deficit in regards to their comfort level and even just general understanding of how to be driven around. So now the interesting thing is that we do the same thing. We apply the same exercises with a dog that's very flighty and fearful. We're just looking for that pendulum. Instead of starting from a forward motion, they're beginning from a yielding motion, a very fearful motion, or state of mind and state of physiological functioning. And what we're trying to do here is build their confidence so that they're able to move through life a lot more efficiently and smoothly and coherently with more trust and peace. But what happens when you work with a fearful dog is that we're also bending them and having them yield, but we're helping them find comfort in that yielding. And so if you think about 2 dogs that are coming together, one of them has that severe flight, okay? Enter another being, whether that's a human or another dog, and that particular dog that's overly fearful, overly sensitive, they're just gone. It's like two positive magnets coming together. One enters, the other one just heads out. So what we do is, again, taking them through the exercises, that we help build their confidence again in being pushed around and in bending, so that when another being enters their space, it's not this immediate reaction to just flee, but rather you help them build the skill set of bending or moving their feet and yielding to another being, rather than their first initial response just being to go away and in fear. Now, what happens when you spend more time with that particular dog in that yielding kind of mindset, they begin to realize, like, oh, nothing bad's happening, even though this thing is kind of entering my space. And again, you want to do this within reason. You don't want to do too much. Again, that's why the Jentle method is so simplistic in its rollout, is that when you get a fearful dog, step 2 could just be a lot for them. And then mixing in step 3, that could be a lot for them, because you're going from passive to more yielding. So hopefully when you do your work, you spend some time there, that by the time you get to 5, you're able to have them spend more time in that yielding mindset and not be pushing them too much. So what happens is you help them gain comfort and trust in that yielding by spending time in it, bending them, and driving them around. And then once they gain that trust and that coherence and that kind of peace in being driven around, that's when you unlock their confidence to actually move forward in life. So it's been really profound to see and to observe and to feel, applying the same exercises and the same kind of intention with that yielding, with a very forward dog but also a very fearful dog, and finding a lot of success. You'd think that you'd have to use different tactics to a degree to help those complete diametrically opposite mindsets. But what we've found, again, is that if you help dogs find comfort in that yielding, you're going to appease their, or I shouldn't say appease, you're going to kind of dissolve their need and propensity to just push everything around. And then in the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to help a dog that's very fearful of everything find more comfort in being driven around, so that they're not just living this life of being frantic and flying away when there's something in their space. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's insightful. Again, it's been something that's been very beautiful to see, and very beautiful to watch, observe unfold in both of these different behavior types. And we have experienced it with, a multitude of different breeds. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's your kind of quote unquote typical forward dogs, as in like Rottweilers and Pit Bulls and so on and so forth. But I mean, golden retrievers, labradoodles, golden doodles, French bulldogs, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I mean, we've seen every single breed with an over-exaggerated state of fear. So it's not singled into any one particular breed in regards to the forwardness or the flightiness. But we've seen a lot of success with all different breeds, just applying this same methodology and the same sequence of events. So again, I hope that's helpful. I hope that's insightful. And yeah, thank you.